Hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode of The Executive Edit, a podcast from Insurance Times that is centred on conversations with the female frontline of UK general insurance broking. My name is Katie Scott, and I'm the Content Director for Insurance Times and Strategic Risk, and I'll be steering the conversation today. I've got our two regular podcast panellists here. I'm sure they need no introduction whatsoever, but I'm going to have a go anyway. So we've got Jane Kilty, Chief Executive for UK, Ireland and South Africa at Aon. Welcome. And Caroline Callan, Retail Chief Executive at Brown & Brown Europe. So thank you both for joining me for another episode of The Executive Edit. It's always nice when the regular panel come back again after the first episode. Score means the first one was good. Excellent. So we've got a few regular segments we're going to work our way through. To start off, we've got our digging into the detail discussion, where both of you will share your opinions and thoughts on a topical market theme that's of interest to you guys, as well as other broker leaders, of course. So today we're going to be talking about how to future-proof UK general insurance, but more focused on skills and those underlying skills of today's brokers, as well as brokers of the future. As well as perhaps the sector's ability to draw on those non-traditional talent pools to attract more varied, diverse skill sets into our marketplace. So I guess as a bit of an example, a lot of the feedback that we've heard over at Insurance Times is around professionals starting in insurance later in their careers, a sort of pivoting really, rather than coming into the sector straight from university or school. So these individuals, therefore, have got a wealth of skills and traits that they've brought from past job roles, completely different industry sectors that might not have been seen in general insurance before. So to sort of kickstart the discussion, I wanted to sort of break it down to a really granular level in terms of how you both would describe the traits and skills that underpin a successful broker, perhaps in the past, today, and then what's going to be needed in the future. I guess that evolution journey of the broker and the skill set that is needed to be successful. So I don't know who wants to kick us off with this one.
Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. So I think the fabulous thing for us in our profession is that I think the most important skill is an ability to build relationships. And I think that a lot of the things that we're seeing in development in technology, etc., will make the rest of it easier. But I think that ability to have fabulous relationships, to trade, to really be interested and look after and understand the clients that we serve, I think that's all about the human, emotional, intelligent kind of skills, and so I feel like the future is very bright for us. The other stuff that and maybe it links into your question a little bit later, but some of the other stuff I think will become easier with technology and AI, and I think that will also help us to access different talent pools. Where some of this, and actually things like, and it's not in the day-to-day broker role, but leadership and some of those aspects, I think we can definitely draw on different forms of talent, and that's quite exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Caroline, anything you want to add there?
I think if we look at traditionally, I think obviously strong relationship management, as Jane's just said, negotiation skills and that real strong technical expertise, if you like, and market knowledge, product knowledge, etc. Those things have always been absolutely key and will remain, key as well. I think from a customer's perspective, though, their expectations of us as brokers and insurers is changing. And I think they're expecting a lot more, speedier response. They're expecting us to add value. They're expecting us to a lot more now to deliver on what we've said we're going to do. And that'll be what differentiates people. And I think the key thing here now is that we don't lose all of those things that have traditionally made us what we are, if you like, but that we do combine that with the technology to become more efficient, more productive, and able to respond quicker to the customer's expectations. I think I've just come out of a meeting before where we were talking about the use of AI and that ability to look at lots and lots of data to give you, instead of looking kind of down, looking at new business or retention or quality results, from your audits, etc., being able to look across and really start to join the dots with a lot of data to give us much better customer outcomes ultimately.
Yeah, and that technology piece is really interesting because that's probably the most obvious skills gap, I guess, at the moment with the existing workforce that we have in UKGI. I mean, how daunting is that as a challenge for you guys as broker leaders when you're thinking, right, I've got this workforce, we need to get better technology skills in the business? Are you instantly thinking, God, I need to put together a training program, or we need to put together a recruitment strategy? Sort of, how do you sort of approach that challenge, and how essential is it that you do approach it with gusto?
I think for me, it's not about training programs. And, there's a whole combination of things that are needed here. It's about building awareness within your team of people as to, the art of the possible with these tools, if you like, getting people comfortable, getting them into a place where they're curious and they want to start to try things. I think that's the way that we'll introduce it kind of almost seamlessly into the workforce, if you like. So I think that's really key. Obviously, some training is needed with all of that, but it's about kind of starting to embrace that technology and actually be curious yourself about what can you use it for. Because I know I'm at that stage at the moment where I'm going, I wonder what would happen if I just did this. And you can't break anything. It's kind of giving people the tools and starting to do that. I think we also then need to combine that with also bringing in expertise in that area as well. And I think back to what Jane was saying before around, the businesses that succeed in this space going forward will be the ones that are able to combine kind of people centricity and relationships with that technology and, those insights that technology is going to give us. So I think we've got to get that combination right and get people comfortable with it.
Yeah, no, and I definitely agree with that. There's some studies that show that there's a real disconnect between what business leaders think, like this is amazing, technology revolution, it's going to allow us to not just be more efficient, but be cleverer, which is, I think is what you're saying about connecting the data together to give different insights, to do things that we...
Because you'll be the same as us, your business gets to a certain scale where you can't look at things kind of manually like that anymore and join all the dots together. You need something to bring it all together and to give you those kind of data points and insights to then go and do something with, so yeah.
So I think the disconnect is like business leaders think it's brilliant. Actually, the truth is that the workforce don't think that AI and the technology revolution is good for them. And so it is bridging that gap of like, please trust that we are trying to help you develop the skills that will make you really successful in the future. And Carolyn's saying she's doing it, I'm doing it as well, playing with the AI yourself as well to try and work out. I think the truth is that we'll always need the people. It's just that we need the people to be able to work the machines. So in other words, you won't be replaced by a machine, but you will be replaced by somebody who's using the machine, like who's using, and I say the machine, I'm just talking about the tools that we've got, whether it be Microsoft Copilot, whether it be the GPT, whether it be, whatever the tools are that we're starting to find that are going to help us to be better in the work that we do. And so I think recognizing that disconnect is dead important. And then I agree, it's almost cultural. It's sort of to bring people on the journey, to get people to feel comfortable to start experimenting. And yes, there's some training and there's different skills but they will, I think, develop naturally over time. We'll be looking for slightly different people and skill sets because the roles will now be a role where you also, check the agent and you've got 4 agents working for you that are doing some jobs that help you do your job a bit better. And so and by the way, I don't think there's the population of workers out there that already have those skills. We actually need our workforces to embrace it and to not be worrying about this being bad for them. But I definitely get why people think that. So we've got to try and enthuse everyone about it, I think.
It's kind of turning that on its head in a way. And what we've just been looking at this morning is if we roll out what we're talking about, then it will give us this amount of saving. And it's how do we then reuse that, that extra capacity to grow the business again, if you like. And that for me then frees up more time to talk to customers, more time to improve your retention because you're having that client time, if you like, more time to go out and look for new business, etc. So I think it's about how do we make better use of that time rather than we're going to lose X number of jobs, for instance, so yeah.
And I don't think that growth is like us eating you and you eating us kind of thing, in that you look at the protection gap that exists. This is about potentially creating new solutions to a demand that already exists because we can do things differently. And so the market opportunity is sort of there for us all to have, I think.
And I think back to kind of what I said in the first question around what do customers expect from us? They're expecting us to add value to their business. And freeing more time up allows you to have more time to do that, if you like, so yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, you can almost see it as a bit of a generational divide in a lot of respects, talking about sort of the AI skills. I guess the other skill set that is getting more visibility, or perhaps you could say hype in the market, is around that emotional intelligence and the soft skills. I guess insurance has always been seen as very technical. I don't know if that counts as hard skills versus soft skills, maybe. But that in terms of generational, you expect sort of younger, newer people to market to be AI native, tech native, very savvy with the digital tools. And you almost expect the existing workforce to be better at, like we're saying, with the relationships, those softer skills, the networking. That a lot of feedback we hear is that sort of younger, newer starters perhaps don't have those communication skills in the office or the workplace, especially where they perhaps might not have been working full time in an office previously. How do you guys think we can get the best of both worlds when it comes to these skill sets and bringing it all together?
I think we need to I think there's a lot of labelling going on at the moment as well, in terms of young people haven't got those skills. And I think, yeah, that will be the case in some situations, but they'll probably bring something else along to the party. So they may well be, kind of data savvy, tech savvy, etc. And equally, we know we've got people in the business that are early adopters of technology and are using it, etc. So I think the key thing here is that you've got both sides, if you like, that we have got people who can, really develop and maintain strong relationships, whether that be with customers or whether that be with insurers, and you've also got that kind of, tech savvy, people who are really good with the data, the insights, etc. You need a diverse workforce, and you need to encourage the two to work together and collaborate together to get the best outcome ultimately. So I think we do need both. I think, interestingly, this morning, there was a whole piece on the news this morning around the lost generation and the number of young people that, aren't getting the opportunity. And I think we need to look to encourage people to come into our industry, because it is an industry that you can have a really meaningful career in, and very quickly as well, if you're prepared to put the work in. So I think we need to encourage, the different, different diversities, if you like, into the industry.
Yeah, I think the diversity is really important, but you can actually, and you said EQ versus IQ. The IQ will become miles easier because we all studied for ages for our ACII exams.
Yes.
I can really easily now use my GPT to look up difficult insurance concepts and have a really easy explanation. It is easier, right? I don't need to just remember 2 or 3 years, 20 years ago of maybe longer than that, of studies that I did. So I think the IQ bit becomes easier. EQ, you can actually learn how to be better and how to improve your emotional intelligence. In fact, there's a really great test, and I'll say it, called the Reading the Mind in the Eye test, which is, you Google it, you'll find it. Basically, you see just a slit of somebody's eyes, and you get 4 emotions, and you have to pick which emotion the eyes are giving you. You don't have any other cues, and you get a score at the end. So play this with my family as fun, But I think that schools need to think about actually helping young people to learn some of the emotional intelligence. And I think that could be part of the future that helps young people come into industry feeling more equipped. Because at school at the moment, it's all IQ, it's all theory, it's all...
And this morning, the article this morning was talking about the fact that there's hardly any Saturday jobs around or anything like that, which we probably all did. I know I did. And and they were the things that gave you that confidence, you know, that ability to talk to people, etc., and you know, to kind of think on your feet. And if those things aren't, opportunities aren't around now, it is difficult, you know. So I can imagine, you know, coming into an office environment for the first time, and you're dealing with adults, if you like, you know, and in a serious work environment, it must be quite daunting if you've never done anything like that before, you know, how to act in a meeting and, you know, etc. Even just how to word emails in a work environment and things like that, you know. So,
do you know, I say at lots of opportunities where I get a chance to speak publicly, but I encourage anyone who's listening to this who has any level of influence in their firm to think about going big on your work experience. You know, the stuff that is even just for a few days. I feel still there's a level of that it's about who you know, and it's a bit about nepotism, that, you know, people's kids get work experience, whereas it's not really hard for us to go big and offer lots of work experience to people, because colleagues generally want to get involved in it. They enjoy it. 3 days with some young person to try and inspire them into our industry. I've said it before, we did 1,000 work experience placements during the course of last year. We only have 6,000 and a bit colleagues. So we sort of, you know, 1 for every 7. Everybody, like 1 in 10 colleagues got involved in, wanted to be part of it. So, and you can get a program and you can just like roll it out, the same program everywhere. So it's interesting. The content's something that everyone can use. So I would just say work experience, I agree with you, and it gives, it not only are we going to inspire people to want to come into our profession, we're also going to get the best talent and make them feel welcome. So it's scary. I said at an event we were at the other day, some of the stuff in our industry is scary, especially for people who haven't got parents or role models that work in the city, work in financial institutions, work in big glass buildings.
We do take a lot for granted. I think it's like you and I come down to London every week, and I think you kind of take that for granted. You just do it. But then I can remember years ago when I'd take Will to school before I'd go off into Manchester every day, and people would go, "Do you go to Manchester every day?" Yes, I do. But I think people are surprised when you say you're down in London every day, you know, every week, you know. So I think that it is different for, you know, if you live kind of, you know, in a small village or a small town somewhere, it is quite different. So,
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with the sort of work experience point that you mentioned. At Insurance Times, we're actually, we've joined sort of Bieber's work experience scheme. So we've got some students from their programme coming to join us over the summer to do some shadowing and that sort of thing. So that should be quite interesting experience for them, hopefully, seeing sort of general insurance from the other side. I guess a non-practitioner side, but still an equally interesting element, I hope. I guess talking about sort of drawing that more diverse talent in and reflecting on the feedback that we've had at Insurance Times in terms of people joining the sector later on in their careers. Had some really fascinating conversations lately that I just wanted to share with you both. I thought it'd be good to help demonstrate the point. But I interviewed Movo Group's Leah Cheeseborough. I don't know if you guys know her for our May edition. And she's had a really fascinating career journey. You know, she started out as a nurse, then she went into retail fragrance market before becoming a broker. And then equally at the Bieber conference, I don't know if you both went to the Women in Insurance breakfast they held on the second day, but they had Tracy Bolland there, and she's a fantastic Canadian broker. And she initially wanted to be in the police. She then coached synchronized figure skating for many, many years. And then she became a broker. So there's so many examples like this where there's this seemingly random and sudden career pivot into insurance, but then all these people stay in our sector and we've got this great sort of wealth of talent. So, I mean, in my mind, these kind of moves are really positive because they introduce new skills, greater diversity. Surely that's a good thing for our marketplace. But I'd just be really interested to get your thoughts really in terms of why, you know, why are people pivoting into our sector later on in their careers? What is attracting them in? And equally, if you guys had any similar anecdotes or stories from your networks that you could share.
I think that what's attracting people in is probably a difficult one to answer. Probably it's best to speak to the individuals about that. I mean, I truly believe, and I've said multiple times, that this is a great industry, and I've absolutely loved my time in the insurance industry. In fact, the short time that I came out of it, I completely missed it, you know. So But in terms of the benefits of those people coming into the industry, they're massive, you know. I mean, they're bringing different skill sets with them. If you look at Leah, she's like, you know, a nurse, empathy, you know, caring approach, you know, dealing with difficult situations, you know, courageous conversations, all of that kind of thing. They're all things that we need, you know. And again, you know, the resilience side of things, and then somebody that's been a figure skater or coach, what have you, they've got those learning and coaching skills and everything as well, and discipline, and they're all things that we need in our sector, you know. So I would really encourage people to come and join the industry, because I think, you know, as I said before, there's fantastic opportunities, but also great opportunities for the businesses that those people are joining as well, because they bring a different set of skills that make us a more diverse workforce again, you know. So yeah.
And so I think I do think, based on the start of the conversation we had, it becomes easier for people to come into our industry mid-career. So you don't necessarily need to have grown up in the ranks and done all your technical training and all of that, because the technical sort of becomes easier to get hold of as far as you need it. We've done some stuff historically in my time with Aon. We've taken on ex-sports people and ex-military people, particularly as part of like, how are they thinking about their careers after they're being an elite athlete or after the military. Some very amazing, I've got one in my team, but some amazing leaders that have come from military backgrounds. So that's sort of quite obvious that they're, you know, they're really, really highly skilled in leadership, teamwork, in discipline, standards, like having high standards and how you create standards. So I think that's obvious. In fact, let me tell you a really quick story about one. So we brought a guy in who played rugby, and he was coming to work for us just a day a week to try and get to know the industry and start to think about his transition. And the idea, can't do a lot in one day a week, just gets to know it a bit, but he uses his network to introduce us to some businesses
we've got somebody the same
that he knows through rugby. Yeah, absolutely perfect. And you know, he then gets to see how it all works, what we're doing. So I pick him up from rugby training one day in Leeds, and we drive over to Hull, and he's got us the best new business meeting that I thought we were ever going to have. It's I won't name the company, but they make Yorkshire puddings. So fabulous business in Hull, family owned, and we were seeing the family owner, founder, you know, maybe he wasn't the founder, but family owner chairman. Yeah. And I'm like so excited. So we get there and all prepped for the meeting, and the chap says to us when we go in, "I'm so glad you came. We've been having terrible power outages in the factory." And he thought we were from Eon.
Oh, no.
Not Aon. And I sort of had to try and, don't worry, we business interruption.
Expectations.
Anyway, but that was about relationship. And it's probably the funniest story I've got about a new business meeting. But we've done some of that, and it's been so successful for us. And I think we should be thinking more about how we do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if you guys know Mike Edgley over at Clear Group, but he was in the military, and he's one of my favourite people, I think, in UKGI. So that's a sort of tells to what you were saying there.
So we've got an ex-rugby player as well at the moment, and we're using him because he's not got the technical knowledge, but he's a real door opener for us. So he's working hand in hand with somebody with really strong technical knowledge that's been in the industry for a long time. And they're kind of working together really well now and getting some great results out of that. So yeah, different skill sets again.
And I guess especially if a business sort of like a broker, there's lines of business that involve sports people and insuring sort of body parts or, associations and that sort of thing. Having that insight from the player perspective must be quite useful as well.
Yeah.
We brought someone else in recently as well, whose family have got like a property development business. And again, they're not an insurance expert, but they know their sector really, really well. And again, fantastic at opening the door and getting us the opportunity to go in and talk, So, yeah.
Do you know, I think years ago, we used to try some of this and it didn't work as well as it does now. So maybe that is a sign that we're changing and we're working out how to match up different skill sets as well to make good teams, which comes back to the diversity thing. And I
think the key thing with this as well is that, it's a, well-known saying, isn't it, around you can teach the technical skill, but you can't teach the kind of, the attitude and the kind of like the rapport building and all of that kind of thing. I think they're kind of soft skills that a lot of people have either got or they haven't got. And I think we can teach anybody, like you said before, you can go on and do your CII exams and everything and study. But some of that stuff's quite special and unique to a person and their personality.
Yeah, and do you think that it's also perhaps linked to the fact that the portfolio careers, I guess, and careers look different nowadays? Before, I guess in the past, it might have been a job for life. And I don't mean that in the sense of being in the same industry sector, but perhaps being in the same firm, you'd get a job, you'd work there for 60 years, you'd retire, end of story. Whereas now I think people are a lot more open to trying different things, moving around a lot more. There's, the gig economy has introduced a lot more flexibility into the workplace as well, for example. So I guess that sometimes helps with this kind of dynamic as well.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask you guys as well, what unusual places you might have found great broking talent in your day-to-day lives. You might have been sort of going to the shops or wherever you've been and you've bumped into someone and you've been, yes, I want you for my business.
I've got a good example of that, actually. I've not kind of brought her in yet, but it's recently happened. So we bought a new car a few months ago, and the girl in the dealership that we dealt with was just absolutely wonderful. And she worked extremely hard from the minute we walked in to build that connection with us, and not in a kind of car sales pushy kind of way, if you like. She just was very genuine, very authentic. And, at every point in that journey, she went out of her way to make sure that she did what she said she was going to do. She followed up on everything. And I actually said to her when we were sat there, I said, do you enjoy what you do? And she said, yeah. And I said, do you see yourself doing this long term? And she said, I'd be open to, other ideas and that. So we're going to have a conversation about, her potentially coming in to join us. And she's a single mom who works extremely hard, and she works all the hours God sends in that kind of environment, weekends and everything. And, I think it would give her a different and a better quality of life as well, and a career ahead of her where she could do really well. So she's got all the kind of right soft skills, if you like, to come into insurance. So, yeah.
Which I think goes back to one of your points a little bit is, again, what is it that attracts people to want to come into our industry, especially if they're changing careers? But, if you just go back to the basics, is actually well paid. It's reasonably easy to progress if you want to progress and have a
prepared
career.
To work hard.
So you want to go through the ranks. It's pretty sociable, actually. So everything we do it's people based, and there's a lot of social that goes on, which is fantastic as well. So I think they're some of the things that attract people into our industry. It's also actually very successful financially for the economy, and so that's positive, I think. But also, you feel like your purpose is a bit of everyone else's purpose it's varied. So I think about all the clients that we look after, and I think that their purpose is our purpose. So if that's making a Yorkshire pudding, or if that's sending a rocket to the moon, or that, then that's actually quite exciting. It's something interesting to go home and talk about in the evening, certainly.
And I think that's the bit that if you don't know that a career in insurance exists, because most people don't, if you like, they would never think of it like that. They just think of it as quite boring, that doesn't really interest me. And I think that's where we've talked about this before with like destination insurance, haven't we, in terms of how do we bring insurance alive to people so that it isn't seen as something that's dull and boring. It's seen as something that's actually quite exciting and actually makes the world go round, really, So, yeah.
And my person who I haven't brought into insurance yet either, but that I met and thought was amazing, was working in the prospect of Whitby pub, and she was working behind the bar and stuff. And she had the really lovely sort of way about her. She was curious. She was asking questions about what I was with a few colleagues, what we were doing as a career, what that was all about. You could tell her customer service was excellent. So I think it comes back again to sort of we're a service industry. And so there's so many different talent pools where we could find different talent. So, and she was just really lovely.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I mean, do you guys think that these career pivoters, I'm not really sure if that's a phrase, but we're inventing it now. Do you think they could be the key to perhaps bringing in the skills that we need to really future-proof our sector? But then equally, how do we find it? It's such an untapped sort of talent pool demographic, really. It's untargeted so far. I don't think it's something that you would necessarily have on a talent program at the minute. Like, oh yes, let's wander into places and see who's good. So how can we make the most of these opportunities and get those skills and those people in?
I think we need a mixture of everybody we've just been talking about, don't we? We need the early careers people coming through, because that's the new blood coming into the industry that'll be in the industry for years to come. So I think that's really key. And as we were talking before, that we support that from work experience right the way through, whether that's, kind of sixth formers, grads, etc. So I think we need those people. I think we need to think wider when we're recruiting for roles and not just look for people who've got experience all the time. And we've been doing quite a bit more of that recently as well. Taking the opportunity to bring in somebody like a junior to grow, from scratch really, and grow our own. So I think we should all kind of not just, you see a lot of job adverts, don't you, whether we want X number of years experience, and actually that puts a blocker straight away for people even considering it as a career. So I think that would help if we were more open to looking at people that have not necessarily worked in the industry before. And then back to kind of, fishing in some of those kind of, exports people, like the armed forces, etc., those kind of pools as well. But I think we all have a part to play as well, in that if you are in a pub or if you are buying a car, or recently one of my team was at the dentist, and funny story, but ended up with quite an embarrassing situation where he asked the receptionist for a phone number just as the dentist walked in. So he said he needs to explain to her next time he goes in why he wanted a phone number. But, actually when you come across somebody, asking them, whether that's something that, they'd be interested in having a conversation, So I think we need a mixture of everything, really.
Yeah, and I think I go back to, I think the career pivoters will help, but what's more important, because there isn't enough workforce generally out there, that we have to get our existing workforces into a really positive place where they're the ones that are helping us future-proof and helping us to be more successful as things change.
Yeah, definitely. And are there any other sort of non-traditional talent pools out there that you think are ripe for the picking, I guess, that we've perhaps not spoken about or that haven't really been dove into yet?
Well, I'll go for one. And it might create some debate. We sort of agreed with each other so far. So it'd be nice to have a punch up on the sofa, wouldn't it? But one of the ones that worries me a little bit, and don't get me wrong, because we're doing it, but we're accessing talent where we can't necessarily find the talent pools that we need outside of the country. So in other lower cost as well, both. But accessing great talent pools, but also lower cost talent pools. And I don't love that from the point of view of our domestic economy, and also from the point of view of the early careers and how we create the capacity to bring people through. I say I don't love it. I do love it from the point of view, and we do it, of how helpful it is to have talent that we can't get easily here, or we can't get it at the right price. War for talent. We were talking about that for a number of years, driving up the cost.
And there's still stupid stuff going on now, isn't there, in that, as far as that's concerned, you go, really, that person is not worth that kind of money, so they're not ready to be, to pay that kind of money, so yeah.
And some of our best colleagues, like we would consider our Birmingham office colleague of the month is based in our Bangalore office kind of thing. And he's working on a portfolio of clients that they love and proud of and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a little bit about me that says, how do we square that circle as well? Because we have started to, and we will start to be thinking about not just talent pools in the UK, but talent pools globally.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. Carolyn, was there anything else you wanted to add on non-traditional?
No, I think, again, the news piece that was on this morning, it probably is worth us as an industry tapping into that review that's going on at the moment, because that was all about how do we, there's obviously a lot of young people at the moment that haven't got jobs. And it's how do we as an industry, maybe use that as a platform to springboard to, show them what insurance is all about. And I do think we probably need some help with that from the government, to be honest, and through the education system as well. So it may be something that it's worth us is tapping into at the moment.
I think, again, that because of the way that jobs are changing, that we need to be faster at getting young people, getting them so that they're adding value quicker.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think that's the same with any new person that you bring into the business, though, as well, isn't it? It's that you bring someone new in that's not got any experience and they're almost a drain on the existing team for a certain period of time. So I totally agree with you. How do you get them adding some value?
You need to get them to account exec role within a year, or you need to get them to a sales developer within, and we've not been great at doing that. So and that definitely, as you've just said, could be something. And we said it on the emotional intelligence and how you teach some of that softer stuff. It could be something that is actually taken on by schools to say, okay, well, we're actually going to produce you somebody out of school who has already got what would have been their first year of learning how to answer a phone and learning how to sit in a business meeting and learn how to actually, they're reasonably easy things that could be part of a curriculum that everybody gets taught, and then that it's easier for us to give them the next level.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a nice call to action to end that segment on. So thank you for your thoughts on that. It was such a fascinating discussion. Really enjoyed hearing all of your varied points there. Definitely a lot of takeaways for me. I just wanted to move on to our next segment, which is called The Risk Factor. Very catchy, I know. So this is about sharing a recent risk you guys might have taken, whether that's personal or professional, explaining what happened, why you felt it was a risk, how you approached it, resolved it. I don't know who's got a risk. Jane, do you want to kick us off?
I'll go first. I don't think Carolyn prepared for this one.
I did have one last time.
5 minutes to prepare. I'll go first. So this was, I was maybe it's not thought of as a big risk, but I had a client who moved away from us, and it was one that I was involved with. Very sad. And they're now with another broker. But it's a client we were very proud to be associated with, and I noticed they had a fire the other day, and I rang them after the fire to say we could help them in areas that I thought that their existing broker wasn't able to help them. And I say it's a risk only because we're very polite, aren't we Brits? And it's a time of their need, and it could be seen that I was trying to ambulance chase or profit for, like take advantage of a really bad situation for them. And that wasn't it. I actually was thinking about them and thinking, oh, we could actually help them with this bit. But I guess the risk there is that, like, we often don't take those kinds of actions because we are very polite and we're not bold enough that we value what we do and our capabilities, and that we're actually, offering to add value. That risky?
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think because we are. You're right. We are really polite, and you always end up thinking, "What's the done thing? Am I going to get any reputational backlash from doing this?"
That's it.
So you do kind of think,
so I damage the relationship because they think I'm like pushing, being mercenary in their time of need.
But how did they react?
They were really pleased, and they wanted a meeting to hear about these. So it was like forensic accounting capabilities to help with the business interruption, which we have amazing people. And they wanted a meeting. The meeting went really well, and I think we'll get engaged to help them with that aspect of the claim,
and hopefully win them back.
Yeah, win them back. But we did say some I was also made sure that I was being not just oh, you've had a loss, like we can help. It was more about giving them a why and what's the credibility and what's the substance, so that they understood what's going to happen next and how we can help them navigate it.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a good example. I like that one. I can probably mention a risk that I've taken if you guys want to hear it. But mine it's kind of personal / professional. So I introduced a bit of a game on LinkedIn over the Bieber conference that kind of went way more viral than I was expecting, and that I was it was a risk as well. So for anyone who doesn't know, the game was called #SpottingScott. The idea was that if people saw me out and about in Manchester over the 2 days of the Bieber conference, get a picture with me, whether it's a selfie or you get your colleagues to take it, have a photo, put it on LinkedIn with the hashtag. And then after the conference, my team were going to pick their favourite photo, and then the winner gets bragging rights and a little prize. Just a little bit of fun over the 2 days. And it was a risk. I had to sort of message the Gen Zers on my team being like, is this idea totally trash or is this going to be really fun? Because again, I was thinking about that community aspect of our industry. Yeah. It's very sociable, as you've already said. So I thought, people might quite like doing that, something a bit different, a bit fun. And I have to say, I'm absolutely thrilled with the uptake of it. So thank you to everyone who stopped to have their photo with me. I've never been in so many photos.
Behaviour for the 2 days then.
I was very
and always had to look smart. So the one that gets in the magazine, in the publications.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the winning photo was with the Federation of Small Businesses. So I was actually playing.
They
had a great idea. So we ended up playing a one-legged hop-in catch on the Markel stand, one of the little Markel footballs. And I was with David Perry and Katie Fremantle, and we were playing catch. So the photo kind of captures the sheer hilarity of that moment of the three of us hopping on the Markel stand playing catch. So I think it was a great choice. I did let the team do it. I didn't choose. The team chose their winner. But yeah, it was really fun, and it was a really quirky way to network as well. So a lot of people approached me who I'd never met before. So it was great getting to have those new conversations and kind of open the door to say, yes, come and have a chat. Let's meet each other. So it was a great way to make connections and then engage with my existing network in a slightly different, more quirky, fun way. So yeah, it was a risk because I could have had no photos taken and it could have been a highly embarrassing LinkedIn scandal. But instead, luckily, people took to it and really enjoyed it, and it will be back for 2027. So just putting that in everyone's calendars now.
And the embarrassing scandal, if it hadn't worked, would eventually have gone down the post feed, and you know, who scrolls back that often?
That's true. Could have got lost in the social media ether forever.
Exactly.
But yeah, it did feel risky, but yeah, I'm just glad it paid off. And it was great fun. I had an absolute blast. I'm not going to lie. It was great.
Love it.
Have you managed to think of one, or should we?
No, I haven't this time. No, I think probably the riskiest thing I've done over the last few weeks was get on a moped in Hanoi.
That's sound pretty risky, actually. Glad you survived.
I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. So
I think that counts, to be fair. I'm happy to take that one.
I did it twice, actually, because I enjoyed it that much. So
wow. Excellent. So our next section is movers and shakers. As we know, there's a lot of people moves that happen in our industry. So this is a bit where we each pick career move that you might have seen or heard about over the last quarter that you think will be exciting or create an impactful change. Jane, I'm going to come to you first on this one because I think everyone knows there's been quite a lot of change at Aon regarding the EMEA business. So I just thought it might be quite nice for you to talk us through what's happening there.
Little did I know that last time we recorded this, that I would pick myself as one of the movers this time. But yeah, absolutely. So as you know, I guess, as you know, it's been announced that I'm going to be leaving Aon, and I have to say that that's sad, but I'm also very, very proud of, in my 2 years as CEO, 20 years with the firm, but 2 years as CEO, having built an amazing team. They are exceptional, and probably delivered the best results since records began for the UK. So very, very proud. And I'm very excited now that I've started to get my head around it properly. About what the future holds. And I've not got a plan yet, but I am excited to explore everything and anything and to really be open to what comes next. But yeah, that's it. Organizations change all the time. It's one of those things. And but we have a great team at Aon, and I have no doubt that they'll continue to be very successful.
No, definitely. You've been such an impactful, inspiring leader at Aon. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what you're going to be doing next, and we will be watching with keen and interested eyes, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Caroline, was there a movers and shakers you wanted to highlight?
I think there's been a few on the insurer side of the fence, hasn't there, over the last few weeks. So I think obviously some big changes at AXA in terms of the commercial and the retail business kind of unifying under John Walker. And obviously they're keeping the kind of dedicated MD roles as far as commercial and retail are concerned. So that's quite a change, because traditionally commercial and retail have been kept quite separate. So that'll be interesting to see, what emerges there really in terms of bringing the businesses together. Obviously you're creating scale, etc. So that'll be interesting. And then again, recent changes at Allianz in the commercial leadership team there as well. Obviously with Nick Hobbs going and Alex taking over. I think there, you can see there's some real kind of talent mobility going on, in terms of Alex moving into that role. Obviously losing somebody from the business that's been there a long time, has got, quite a long tenure and obviously knows the industry and is a well-known figurehead. So I think that'll be interesting to see how that pans out at Allianz too. Obviously a big focus there on kind of digital capability, distribution, and as I say, that talent mobility as well. So I think there's, quite a bit going on at the moment, more than when we met last time, really. So
lots of new adventures.
Yes, yeah.
I think I'd agree with that. If I was going to choose one, I would probably have chosen Alex from Allianz as well. I spoke to him at the Bieber conference, interviewed him, and I thought he came across really, really well. He's got such a quiet but sort of reassuring confidence about him, so unassuming, but he's got so many ideas about what he wants to do, what he wants to improve. So I think, he'll get stuck in, and I'm excited to see how that pans out, because I think Nick's probably left some big shoes to fill as well. He's very charismatic.
Nick's the real kind of figurehead in the industry, isn't he? And I think definitely some big shoes to fill there. But I think, Alex is, what I've seen of Alex working with him so far, I think he'll do a good job.
His enthusiasm is amazing. And I have no doubt that Nick will go on to do some amazing things.
He'll pop up somewhere else.
Again, another example actually of what we were talking about before, in terms of, he's probably one of those that has role modelled amazing relationship skills, Nick, over all the years, like proper superpower. So be interesting to see how that all pans out.
Yes.
I think he's planning on getting his pilot's license. I think that's what he mentioned when I spoke to him. But it sounds
career
like
pivot.
he would do. Yeah. I don't know if he was just joking with me or not, though. I can never quite tell if I'm being honest. Got such a good sense of humour. Okay, so last sort of segment that we're going to do is obviously Jargon Joust, our fun word association.
I think we were bad at this last time.
We were, yeah.
So today's word is going to be skill. So we'll start off with skill, and then just whatever word springs to mind, bouncing back and forth between the two of you. Remember, no repeating words.
Okay.
That's a moment. So who wants to kick off?
I'll go first.
Jumping straight in. Okay, so what's the first word you think of? Skill.
Relationships.
Rapport.
Friendships.
Trust.
Reliability.
Expectations.
Delivery.
Discipline.
Punishment.
Reward.
Pay.
Jane wins this one.
Did you win last time? I can't remember. Did you win last time?
I don't know.
I'm going to have to start keeping a tally, aren't I? And then we'll have to have a head-to-head at some point, sort of a final countdown. But
we'll have to jazz it up at stage. Well, no, one game that I play regularly, if we have like a client dinner and it's small enough to talk around the table, or a colleague dinner, is your most outrageous prediction for the next 3 months. So maybe we'll have to, and actually when I did that once with a group of clients just before the budget, Rachel Reeves is going to set the budget. They nailed a better budget than we've had as a country. So we might introduce a new segment into this podcast, like most outrageous prediction, and then you write them on a napkin. And then you keep the napkins to
look at them in a
see
few
whether
it's not a bad shout. We can link that in, or we can do insurance charades. We can add that in as Pictionary. There's so many options. Very excited about how this bit could develop. But no, that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much to both of you for joining me today, and thank you to everyone listening as well. Really excited. It's been a really great episode. I just love doing this. It's so much fun. But we'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next Q3 episode. Thank you.